September is wild. Pretty much every week we are getting multiple AAA games releasing from now until essentially Christmas. It's gonna be a busy little while, and we're gonna go over all of these games, look at the reviews, talk about whether they're good or not.
Dude, that's not important.
Yeah,
Talk about the thing I
Dude, we'll
want.
talk about...
Dude, talk about the balls.
All right, well, this week, if you didn't see it already, at the Phillies game, well, Karen showed up. Now, the good news is after this happened, the Phillies brought the kid down to the dugout and got a bunch of things signed for him. And in other words, he got his ball back. Now, who's not going to get his ball back is Darth Vader, because after the original trilogy, they actually took that original lightsaber that Darth Vader used and sold it. And this sold for $3.65 million. And if that's not disgusting, I'll tell you what is, because remember last week we were talking about the pickle Pepsi at Taco Bell? Well, KFC thought that that wasn't gross enough, so instead of doing that, they are now releasing jelly beans in all your favorite KFC flavors. You like fried chicken? There's a jelly bean for that. You like gravy? Jelly bean for that. Mashed potatoes? They got you. Yeah, I'm not going to be trying those, but what I might be trying is some G Fuel, because if you didn't hear earlier this week, the end of an era actually happens, where they tweeted out specifically stating that essentially what everyone thought is they were going out of business, which is strange because their cans are in stores, grocery stores, their G Fuel is sponsored by people like PewDiePie and biggest people on the internet. Well, turns out it was all a ploy to launch their 2.0 formula, and no, this video is not sponsored by G Fuel, but G Fuel, if you're out there, I'll always take a bag. What was funny is no one knew what was going on during this time except for one person, or I guess technically one thing, and that was Grok. Grok came in and actually spoiled the entire reveal of their 2.0 formula, correcting the tweet from earlier. Yes, I know you come to the show to figure out what has happened and what is going on with the most recent fast food trends like KFC jelly beans, but I know you stay for the video game news. So welcome to the Weekly Reload. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Weekly Reload, your weekly news show where we dive into everything video games. And this week was a big week, so we're going to dive right into it. First of all, the biggest launch this week has to go out to Silksong, which essentially broke the internet. It got released at $20, which for what you're getting with this game, upwards of 20, 30, hundreds of hours if you try to 100% this game, is 100% worth it. Now, what was interesting about this is they didn't do pre-sale, pre-orders, anything along those lines. What this meant is that when the game went live on September 4th, it went live on all storefronts, and it crashed all storefronts. Steam crashed, PSN crashed, Xbox, well, somehow they were fine, but if you were on Game Pass, it wouldn't let you download the game on Game Pass for like the first hour. Now, what's crazy is that before the game was launched, Hollow Knight hit its all-time player peak a couple days before, but 2 days after the launch of Silksong, Hollow Knight #1 hit its all-time peak at 88,000. Now, if you go and look at Silksong, it is currently cruising between 470 and 587,000 players concurrently, making it one of the biggest games ever on Steam, which congratulations to them. For an indie studio, that's really amazing to see. But it comes down to doing the right things right, making a solid game. On top of that, pricing it at a really reasonable price. And then on top of that, just doing good things. Like, for example, if you buy the game on Nintendo Switch 1, you get a free port over into Nintendo Switch 2 if you buy one. So Team Cherry, congratulations on the launch of your game. You made a ton of money. You did a great job. And you made everyone who's playing your game happy. And that's what we like to see around here. Now, the Call of Duty news this week is actually kind of interesting. So we talked about it last week, where it got confirmed that Paramount is now working with Call of Duty to create a Call of Duty movie. But what came through the wet work is that Call of Duty actually was already in talks with Steven Spielberg to make a Call of Duty movie. Now, it turns out this was actually Steven Spielberg's idea. His team pitched his vision to Activision. The reason why they turned it down is because basically Steven Spielberg wanted overall creative freedom, to not be tied down by Activision to come in and say, no, you can or can't do this. Whereas Activision wanted some say in what went on. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of get both sides of this one. If I'm Steven Spielberg, I'm like, I'm the movie guy. I don't need a video game studio coming in and telling me what I can or can't do. And at the same time, Activision's like, well, what if he does something wrong with Price or Ghost or anything like this and ruins one of our favorite characters? I get both sides of it, but now they're working with Paramount, and the Activision and Paramount are kind of working together. Now, later this week, we got Season 5 Reloaded, and all I will say about this one is in every single mode that we have here, multiplayer, we have a remake map with a bunch of remake modes. In zombies, we have directed coming from the zombies map, which is again nothing new. Warzone, no new updates to it. Meta changes, almost nothing at all. Season 5 Reloaded could have just been nothing at all and no one would have noticed a difference. It's kind of disappointing. Lends to the question what they're going to be doing with Season 6 and how this is going to tie into Black Ops 7 and its seasons moving forward. However, what did happen is Beavis and Butt-head are not now just in Call of Duty, they are also in Fortnite. Fortnite players seem to be much more okay with it because that's kind of the culture that Fortnite has created. But yeah, they're making their way around games. Next, they're coming to Animal Crossing.
Hold up.
Can we watch some TV first?
Now we move into the things coming out this week, this year, reviews. First things first, Tarkov. If you've played Tarkov, you may have noticed that it is not on Steam. Well, turns out that it is coming to Steam when 1.0, the first version out of beta, launches for Escape from Tarkov. Now, you may be wondering when that's happened. That is on November the 15th. It's coming to Steam. It's getting fully launched, which is interesting because that is the day after Black Ops 7 launches. So Call of Duty has a month before Battlefield 6 coming out and the day after Escape from Tarkov coming out. Now, I know Escape from Tarkov's been out for a long time. People are very frustrated with the cheating and everything like that in that game, but I'm very curious to see how it does and what the player numbers are actually like. Now, moving into games that have launched this week, coming at the same time as Silksong, exact same day, is Hell Is Us. Now, in this one, you control a character named Remy, who is a former soldier returning to his war-torn homeland of Hagia, which is a fictional country engulfed in civil war. Remy is driven by fragmented memories, his father's occupation, his birthplace, and a mysterious necklace to reunite with his family and uncover various lost truths. Now, the thing with this game is it's a semi-open world game, which means you can kind of choose where you go, but it doesn't have traditional aids like waypoints, quest markers, or maps. You have to rely on your environmental clues, conversations, or your own map making. In other words, this game does not hold your hand. It's melee combat focused, and this isn't one for if you just want to follow a map marker or anything like that. You're gonna have to focus in, you're gonna have to solve puzzles. They're not gonna be overly hard or anything like that. And as far as what we're seeing with this one, it has pretty good reception, sitting at a 79% on OpenCritic, and critics giving it a very good review. They're saying basically they have a really great formula here, but they want to see where they go with it next. In other words, we want to see more games use this non-hand-holding method, but at the same time, there's a little bit of jank in this game, if you will. The next game we got is a lot more straightforward, and that's NBA 2K26. As far as this one goes, if you know the game of basketball, you essentially understand what NBA 2K26 is. But for those of you who don't know, you have a round orange ball with two hoops at either end of the court. You play on teams of 5, and each team tries to go to the other end of the court without traveling, which is holding the ball without dribbling, in other words, bouncing it on the ground, and try to get it into the hoops. That is the game. There's story mode, there's create class, there's characters, there's online. It's like every other basketball game you've ever played on any console ever. This one's sitting at an 82 on OpenCritic, and just seemingly like every other sports game that's come out this year, it's right around an 80% rating. Nothing really changed from the year before. Gameplay a little bit smoother, characters or players updated, team rosters updated, and that's about it. Still an 82 on OpenCritic, which is honestly pretty solid. So the next game that came out this week was on September 5th, the day after. And as far as this one goes, it's called Cronos: The New Dawn. Now, this is a third-person survival horror game, which mix elements of sci-fi, time travel, body horror, and basically is Bloober Team's follow-up to their Silent Hill 2 remake, which was, as we know, found very highly by pretty much everyone. Now, as far as the story of this game, you play as the Traveler, an operative for a mysterious organization known as the Collective. Your mission to navigate a desolate post-apocalyptic future, locate time rifts, and travel back to the 1980s in Poland to rescue individuals who did not survive this catastrophic event called The Change. Now, as far as this one goes, this is sitting at a 78% on OpenCritic. However, some reviews coming in saying the narrative is kind of underwhelming, and as far as the gameplay goes, it's a little bit too punishing, not in the fact that the game is too hard, but you have very, very limited inventory slots, which is there to make the game more spooky, but it's whether or not this one's for you. I think if you like kind of like the Silent Hill 2 remake, definitely give this one a shot, but you might be a little bit underwhelmed by the gameplay as a whole. The other thing that probably slid under your radar this week, I played this one, played through it on stream, everything like that, is Indiana Jones DLC. So the Great Circle got its first DLC called The Order of the Giants. This one sits at about 2 to 3 hours of playtime, essentially adds another mission set in a new location, which is Rome. You go through, solve several puzzles, and I must say, these puzzles were much more difficult than the ones that were in the mainline game, which I love to see. I love puzzles. But as far as the DLC for the game, if you liked Indiana Jones and maybe you got the deluxe edition, or maybe you have it on Game Pass Premium, check this one out. It's like 3 hours of basically playing through a movie that I think you'll really enjoy. Now, that is everything that came out this week. Next week, we have this. This week, we essentially have one big game coming out on the 12th, which is Borderlands 4. Now, this is one that people have been waiting for a very, very long time, and not to mention, I think the looter shooter genre just as a whole has been really slacking since Destiny 2 came out. It's kind of the cream of the crop, the one that's everyone playing, and now we're waiting for a new one. And is Borderlands 4 gonna be that hit of looter shooter that everyone is looking for? We will have to wait and see, but we don't have to wait too long, just this week. So, as per usual, that has been the weekly reload. This week we dove a lot more into reviews. If you like that kind of thing, show me by hitting that like button, subscribe, and turning notifications on. Over the next coming weeks, we should be getting more and more information on Black Ops 7. There should be a zombies kind of direct coming pretty soon. On top of that, definitely more information on Battlefield 6. We are still waiting on a breakdown or a trailer of the campaign. We are still waiting on a breakdown of the progression and how everything like that's going to work. And we are less than a month essentially away from the launch of that game. So we are right there. So if you enjoy the weekly reload, hit the like button. Thank you for supporting the channel. Subscribe, turn notifications on, and until next time, peace.